Hey there, thanks for joining me. We are doing Love Street Art Graffiti style. I have an authentic Santorini stone that's a little bit discolored. I put a one coat of white chalk paint in my letters, love. You can see that right there. Then I'm picking my center part where I'm going to split color on my lettering, and I'm gonna pick a red cadmium hue and a light magenta. So the reason that I split my line is so I know exactly where I'm painting and I have a straight line across. You can just use a mechanical pencil. I always take some from the never-ending school supply pile that never seems to dwindle. Of course, if you have a fancy pencil, use it. I use basic ones. So I'm going to start at the top with light magenta. You're going to find out also that this white chalk paint helps the paint absorb a little bit. Santorini is very porous and kind of soaks up the color. So with a base of white chalk, you can get a little bit of a bolder, brighter color. Do you have to do this step? Absolutely not. And also, if you're using a stone that is not Santorini, that's dark in color, you can chalk paint your entire stone first, and that will give you the best chance of having bright and bold colors. What I did off camera here is I did another coat of the pink because, as you can see my little streaks and stuff through it. So here's 2 coats, and in the interest of not forcing you to sit through hours of video, I'm only showing you the important parts so you can get the hang of it. So here I go with red, and I'm doing the same thing. The handy thing about sketching first is you know exactly where you're going. You can stay in your lines. If you make a little mistake, that's okay. You can alter it as you go. But with a pencil guide, you tend to, well, I do. I can only speak for myself. I tend to paint a little bit straighter, and I have a better plan and a game plan. So I'm going to do the same thing here, except for the red actually took better with the chalk paint than the light magenta did. So red is kind of a finicky color along with yellow and orange. And if you're having a problem getting these to show, try white chalk paint on the bottom. So here with my guide, I'm going back and forth, and you can see that I'm stacking these letters and they're kind of overlapping. So I'm going to make the L go on top of the O. I'm going to make the O go on top of the V, and the V is on top of the E. While I'm painting the bottom part of my O here, I'm going to leave a teeny tiny space just so I can see where I'm going to outline. It's not really apparent in the video, but I'm just not touching it completely. I'm leaving this little line so that when I take my black Posca pen to do my outline, I can see exactly where I'm going. This is a super easy one, and you guys can do this really quickly. Okay, so here is my 2 coats of pink, 1 coat of white. I'm going to use Fairy Pink in the DecoArt Holographic Illusions Glitter. This is super bright, super gorgeous. And of course it has pink in it, so it's the perfect addition to my letters. So I'm going to bling these up, and of course it's not trying to make you sit through hours of video, so I'm going to do part of this off camera. I'm just showing you what I'm doing here. Of course, when I go to start and stop these videos, I'm giving some dry time in between, which you can speed up with a hairdryer, but be careful, because if your undercoat is still wet and you paint on top of it, you may get some crackling going on, and I'm trying to avoid that. So I'm doing a little, housework and whatever in between, and then I'll just go sit down and pick it up right again. This bad boy is glittered. Wait until you see the final result. If you don't have DecoArt Holographic Illusions glitter, it's a really cool, super blingy paint. There you go. Awesome. Now I'm going to continue and do that along all my other letters, and now we are maximum bling. Okay, Posca 1MR. The R makes all of the difference in the world. I cannot control my lettering with the 1M. It's got a plastic chisel tip, splashes on everything that I use. So does the Thule Art, and that's why I don't use those pens. I'm sure that somebody's throwing tomatoes at me because there's a lot of Thule Art lovers, but they're just not for me. Maybe it's just the way that I write. But this Posca 1MR, I have a minimum of 20 on hand at once, and they're super. Okay, we got all of our letters outlined, and this is just a guide for me to keep my black acrylic paint out of where I don't want it to be. So I decided to come in here and do some drips. We are doing graffiti and street art, and a lot of them have the drips on the bottom. So let's take that same Posca pen that we were outlining with and do these drips in at the bottom. Perfect. They're not equal or symmetrical, but that's okay. Neither is spray paint. So let's outline our little area around. And this is basically just a guide for me to stay in with my black acrylic. If you mess up, that's okay. That's kind of why I'm doing the outline first, so I can get a clear-cut view of where I'm going. I'm using Mars Black by Liquitex Basics. Liquitex has two main blacks, Ivory and Mars. Ivory seems to be a little bit more transparent. This one is super bold and super dark. So I'm just going in here too, and keep in mind too, if you're a little shaky, watch my finger placement. I always anchor my pinky down on the rock, and that helps me be a little bit straighter. So I'm just going to go in here and go in with my black acrylic in all of the spaces that I've left with my Posca pen. And I'm not going to force you to sit through here because you guys can do this too at home. Boom, there you go. Love, graffiti style, street art with bling. This is a lot of fun. I hope you guys try this one. Make it how you want it. Do the word peace, joy, whatever you feel like. Now that you have the style down, you can kind of do however you like. Great pick on our weekly challenge, Katie. Thank you for this. This is the very first one of these that I've done, and I think it's super cool, and I love it. It's definitely not my last. Happy painting.